Hello, welcome to Chat with Dr. Kat. I'm Dr. Kat. It's wonderful to see you today. Today we're going to be talking about long-term health insurance. Reason why I decided this was an important thing to discuss is because most people either don't have it, don't know anything about it, can't decide whether they should have it or not. So I wanted to just bring you a little bit of education. Today we have Raymond Lavine, who's an expert in the field of long-term health insurance. And we're just going to discuss some of the things in a very simple matter of why should we get long-term health care insurance? Why is it important? And all the questions and thoughts that go along with that. So, as always, if you have any questions, thoughts, or feelings, let me know at chatwithdrkat.com. If you'd like to be a guest on an episode, let me know. And remember, no fluff, no judgment, just real talk that leads to real change. Welcome, Raymond, to Chat with Dr. Kat. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not supposed to say this probably on your podcast, but I'm having a good mental health day.
I like that. No, that's always good. That's always good. So let's get right to it. So tell me, what is long-term health care insurance and why should people get it?
Well, I'll answer the first question, then I'll ask you a question about caregiving. Long-term care is a definition, and what I mean by that is when we think about caregiving, caregiving is in many forms. There's child care, there's and there's adult care, and in some ways they're similar, um,
Yes.
because what it really means is that somebody needs care and somebody is responsible for caregiving. As a parent, you're responsible to your children. I hope you're responsible for your children.
Mhm.
And if you need caregiving, it's somebody has a health issue. Something has happened to them, frailty, some sort of cognitive issue, a health issue, an accident. Something has happened to your health that you need some form of caregiving, people to help you with what they call their daily activities. That's what caregiving is. And so then the other question is, well, who would need it? That's that is the question I've asked myself for a long time is if people know about caregiving, if they've been personally involved or they know, then why is it that people have not said, if it's happened to them, it could happen to me. Where's my plan? What am I going to do? What am I going to do
Right.
about my plan? It's the same as saying, look, if I have some sort of mental health issue, if I'm feeling depressed, if I'm feeling, certain things, it would be a good plot to say, gee, maybe I need to consult with somebody to, to help me that I have something going on and I need help. And this is the business I'm in of helping people to talk about having a plan, not being
Yeah.
scared about a plan. And so that's that's my focus. I don't want to say, it's my mission, it's my life's work. It's just it's what I like to do. I that's what I love to do. I love to help people to have a plan so that um in a way they don't have to call you at 2 o'clock in the morning saying, look, I've got this crisis. Because I'm sure you probably deal with families and
Yes.
families is an ongoing drama.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I've personally learned is that, I take care of my mother, and she worked for LA Unified. She was one of the superintendents years ago of LA Unified. So that's Los Angeles Unified School District.
I'm a product of Los Angeles Unified School
See,
District, graduate of Hollywood High,
there
Hollywood
you
High School.
there you go. That's so funny. My best friend went there. Here's the thing. It has come to the point where I am taking care of her, and I pretty much do it solo with my family, and it's a lot. It's a lot because I'm still raising kids, and so I'm part of that sandwich generation. But what I have found is that because of Ella Unified, she has amazing benefits that care for her, and there's a lot of things that are put in place as far as her insurance, which is long-term health care. Now, I will say this, we've had
Los
to.
Angeles Unified School District had offered, and she took a long-term care plan.
Well, it came with it. She had a long-term health care plan that came with it within her retirement. We had to build on it, but I had to learn about that because most of the time, I don't think people think about long-term health care insurance. I have another individual that I know very well, and she got into the business of long-term health care insurance. That was only one little aspect, and I was able to learn more about it. But I just don't think the average person really knows about long term health care insurance. So, Raymond, tell us a little bit about what long term health care insurance covers. What
Well,
does it do?
long-term care insurance is not health insurance. People think it's the same thing. It isn't. The only thing that's different is saying it's insurance. That's the only com, common denominator.
Mm-hmm.
What it differentiates is health insurance or Medicare or social services pay for your health, meaning if you have a health issue, you go to the doctor if you can get an appointment, and or you go to a hospital. Health insurance pays for those health services. Long-term care benefits is not something, it's not a benefit that people know about, think about, or a lot of people advocate. When I mean by advocate, whether it's benefit brokers to companies to talk about long-term care benefits, or wealth advisors or financial advisors or any kind of advisor, you know unless they themselves have been personally involved. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of them just don't think about it. They don't advocate it, but they should, because it's good for your, if you have a good care plan in place, is good for your mental health, everybody's health, those that need caregiving and those that will be responsible for caregiving. It's great for your mental health. But the point is that these are plans that don't pay for your health. They pay for what has happened to your health. You've had an accident. Well, if you have an accident, it means you might not be able to do certain activities, which means you need somebody to care for you.
Mm-hmm.
This insurance will pay for that care. It will pay for either, depending on the plan, you can have family members, you can have people that you know that have certain skills that you can pay to help with your services, or you can have reimbursement. And reimbursement, without getting into a lot of language about it, it means that the insurance company will reimburse a healthcare home agency that has their staff to care for you, or if you need to be in a care center, also known as nursing home, assisted living,
Mm-hmm.
cognitive care, that it will pay for those services. If you need, if you're in a situation where, you're recovering, or that you need, you can go back and forth. You might be in a care facility for some period of time because you have something, and then you can come back home, or vice versa. But it doesn't pay for your health. It pays for what has happened to your health that you need care services. And I'll stop there because I can just keep going on and on about to describe it.
No, that's great because there is a big difference between the two. It's not your doctor's appointments, it's not all of that with your health. It is if you need someone to come into, like, one aspect of it is someone to come into your home, you're recovering from, say, hip replacement, knee replacement. I mean, I'm saying this because that's what happened with my mom. We were able to have that
Welcome
insurance.
to America. We're all going through.
Right.
We're all going through the through. We are all going through these phases, sort of
Yes.
like Maslow, hierarchy of health issues.
It's true. And it really it was a game changer for us, because they were helping with bathing her, getting her out, getting her to exercise, and then just kind of the things that she would normally do in the house, that we keep her motivated. She's doing things. She's still very, very high functioning, but I remember coming into the kitchen and they were chopping and preparing for dinner. And those are some things that, I'll ask her to help with. But it was keeping her functioning, but it was someone helping her along the way. And it was a big, big difference. And, I think a lot of times people don't prepare for this type of care, and they think that they can do it on their own. And a lot of times you can, but I think that oftentimes, if you're, again, part of sandwich generation, and let me explain to people watching what sandwich generation is when you're taking care of an elderly parent and you're also still raising kids. So you're kind of in the middle there, and it's something that you want to be doing lovingly, but you can get burnt out very quickly. I mean, you can get burnt out from just one of them, but combined is a lot of work. So if you have that ability to have extra care, especially when, like you said, sometimes things happen, or they go in and they decide, now is the time for this replacement or things like that. So I think that that's really vital. So are there other things that you see with people that they usually question? Like, I look at people sometimes and they've asked me about healthcare with my mom. And I think another thing that people worry about are the costs of it. And are there varying degrees of long-term health care? Can everyone afford it? What are your thoughts about that?
Let me just give you the general answer, and then I'm fine to go into specifics.
Okay.
That the one of the reasons that people don't even think about it or isn't often advocate is if you get a long-term care plan, there's a fee to it. There's a premium. It's not free. Of
Right.
course, if you get a car and you want, you got to have insurance. It's not free. Whether you have an electric or gasoline, it isn't just what I'm getting at. This isn't just buying a car. It's all the other ancillary things. And in life, things are going to happen to you. I guarantee you. I can't tell you when, but I can guarantee, things are going to happen. Health is going to happen to you in your life, and so there is a premium to this. So one of the things that happens about long-term care is we don't think about it until it either happens or somebody recommends it. Ask me your question again. I think I lost my train
No,
of
that's
thought.
okay. When you look at healthcare, long-term healthcare insurance, a lot of times people are concerned about costs, and maybe they don't realize that there's different levels that they can
Okay.
purchase.
Okay. Thank you. When people think about caregiving, the first thing, and they say they want to have long-term care benefits, they think, oh, it costs too much. And my answer to that is, if you think that owning a plan costs too much, wait till you get a bill for 8,000 a month, 10,000 a month, 12,000 a month. That would certainly get my attention. Or would you rather transfer, some of that? It's the same as what you do for your health insurance. It's
Mm,
exactly the same thing that you do with your homeowner's insurance. It's exactly the same thing that you do with any kind of insurance. Is you're transferring the risk so that you're not using a lot of your assets to pay for it. And I guarantee you, caregiving as an inflation item is rising very quickly. Not
mm-hmm,
only just for home care, but also for care center, meaning nursing homes and assisted living. So it's expensive. So then then the thing that you ask yourself, well, should I get it? Well, I'm going to do a counterintuitive. If you are fine to use a lot of your money to pay for caregiving, if you are fine to be personally involved in all the things you have to do,
mm-hmm,
if uh, um, you want to take all that responsibility, or if you're fine, if you're alone, that you want to be alone, and then you want to have to spend time trying to find people to help you, then don't get it. Don't think about it. It's then you can do it just in time, and I
mm-hmm,
guarantee you, then you're because I've had people that have called me. You're going to have a mental health breakdown,
mm-hmm,
and if you have family members, everybody's in immediate crisis, or if you say, look, I love my family, or at least I care about them, and they matter to me. When we formed a family, whatever the family may be. Now I'm so old. I remember, family had to be, you had to be married, and you had to have all the certain criteria. Now families are many things. You can have multiple families. You can have same-sex partner families. There
Hmm.
are a lot of ways of you have families, and sometimes I get a call that sometimes there are families that show up that nobody knew about. But
Right.
that's but the point is, if you care about yourself because you are an investment, if you care about your family, if you care about what the issues would be if you need caregiving, then talk to me or talk to somebody that is involved about your financial advisor, your wealth advisor, about what does a caregiving plan mean. How does it fit within my plan? What do I want my caregiving to do?
Hmm.
And who do I want to be responsible for it? And for the big one, how am I going to pay for it? Because
Right.
none of this is free. If you think that you're helping your mother, yes, it may be. You may think that you're not paying a fee. You're paying a fee. How do
Hmm.
I know this? Unless she lives with you, you have to drive to her place.
Hmm.
There are things things you have to do.
Hmm.
There's an expense to it. Or if a family member has to give up a career or for a period of time, they're giving up an income. There's a fee to that.
Yeah.
Or and that's what happens with a lot of people in companies, which sometimes they have to leave the company for periods of time, and they may not be able to come back, or they miss promotions, and they miss contribution. It is a multi-billion-dollar expense. And I'll stop there because I'll
No,
keep I'll
it,
keep going about
yeah, no, it is. I mean, my mother does live with us, but it's the day to day, the cooking, the extra cleaning, the extra work that comes with it. It's time, it's energy, and obviously it's my mother, and
and it's another person in your home, and it's
it's
not that
correct.
it's an organism in your home that she's part of the family, but she's also your mother. It's a different
Yes.
family entity.
It's a
I think.
different, yeah, it's a different family entity. But, you made a comment in the beginning where you said, you have childcare and then you have long term, basically for elderly. And I think it could be the same. There's a lot to say to that because as people age, they are able to do less and less, right? Less and less of taking care of themselves, sometimes by choice and sometimes not by choice, where they're just not able because of their body structure of what is going on. Or as they age, my mom always says it's like going back to childhood, even some of the reasoning skills or, the timing factor. I always find it interesting. I could be with this a few years ago, I could be with one of my daughters and we're having this conversation where, I'm guiding her, disciplining her. And, my mom would walk in and say, "Hey, what's for dinner?" And I'm like, gotta give me a minute. Give me a minute. And oh, I'm so sorry. It's care that you're giving on a regular basis. All those things can add up and create that type of burnout, right? So if you have somebody that can come in, take care 2-3 times a week, even that brings down that burnout. So I think that's one thing that I could say is that it doesn't have to be, you're putting your parent into a home or you have someone who's living here full time. There's varying degrees of it that I see with healthcare. But there's another thing that you mentioned that I want you to speak a little bit more about is that you can hire someone to come into the home, or if you have a family member who's deciding to take care of the elderly person or the person that needs the health care, you can pay a family member for those services, correct?
That's right. There's certain, nationwide, and there are a number of companies, security and other company, or true. There's a True Freedom subscription plan you can
Mm-hmm.
get. There are plans there's some plans that are all reimbursement. The carriers now are also changing where sometimes they'll have some sort of combination, but there's
Mm-hmm.
some plans that are all cash. They call it the insurance term is indemnity, but for
Okay.
terms of most of us, it's cash, it's money, it's and that can be there are good reasons to have it, but but you also have to be careful too, because if money's being transferred, you got to make sure that it's for the purpose intended, your caregiving, because money goes into an account. People may take the money and use it for other things, which were then in a reimbursement. You having a service, and so they will get reimbursement from the insurance company. So there's more
I see.
control. I'm not advocating to say that people are doing fraud. That's not what I'm advocating.
No, but it could
All what
happen.
I'm saying, yeah, is the people being careful. But to be specific is there are times where people want to hire their friends and family, or they want to reimburse their friends and family, and there are plans that can do that. Or again, there are plans where it's just all reimbursement. So sometimes there can be a difference in premium. Some indemnity plans can be a little bit more, but if that's what somebody wants, I can certainly design a plan. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's by asking questions to say, look, who do you want? And that actually goes into something that sometimes I forget to say in these, is that unlike, in you're a child, you don't choose your parents.
Mm-hmm.
But with caregiving, you do have choices, and Americans like choice. They may grumble about it, and that's the other thing too, is if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a plan, if you don't have the resources, if you have if one of the things is, if you want to have choices, if you want to have control about how you want your caregiving, then have some sort of caregiving plan, or make
Mm-hmm.
sure that your assets are such where you can pay for it. um, and that gives you choice, because if you go to Medicaid, if you go to other social services, it's not that they're bad plans. They were
Mm-hmm.
designed to help people that didn't have anything else, and that was the purpose of these social services plan. The
Mm-hmm.
difference is, if you have your own care plan, you can make choices. You can say, here, who you want to hire as your caregiver, how many hours, and if they don't work out, to find people that do work out as a
Mm-hmm.
caregiver. If you have somebody else, then it's somebody else making the choice. I'm not advocating and saying, well, it's all bad, or they're all terrible people. That's not what I'm. The specific thing is, one is choice, and the other is, you somebody else will make those decisions about, it may be scheduling, it may be the person, the caregiver that's
Mm-hmm.
being assigned. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
You know, I think you're bringing up some great points, and emotional the emotions that come from planning oftentimes are overwhelming. People don't want to say, oh, you're young, it's fine, nothing's going to happen. Or,
Want to bet?
yeah,
Want to
exactly.
bet?
Right.
I,
And
I know a lot of young people that have a lot of issues.
yes, but even people who are aging, there's these conversations that maybe their children, adult children, don't want to have with them. I'll tell you this, my mom had started talking to me about her funeral. And I said, of course, this was a few years back. And I said, Mom, I don't want to talk about your funeral. It makes me sad. I don't want to talk about it. And that was a disservice to her at the time. And but it is that emotional charged question that people don't want to talk about. And what you brought in, and what I am such an advocate for, is choice. And it did become a choice. And I know that she started talking to And she's not ill or anything like that, but she doesn't want to burden the family. She wants to be able to have what she wants and to be able to, again, to not burden. So she wound up reaching out to a funeral home and talking to them, and they're saying that, what they want, what they were going to offer her. They were a little shady, but finally we sat down and I said, Mom, you don't need to do this. And I wasn't there when you originally wanted to talk about it. So I'm really sorry about that. Let's talk about it. Let's plan it. And then we're going to put it aside. It's done. We don't have to talk about it. And I said, instead of giving this funeral home a chunk of change and you're getting a package and half of it you don't even want. And you're paying for it. You've already have, a plot next to my dad. That's covered. So you're paying for all these things that you don't need. And that's why I like what you were saying is choice, choice, choice. With a lot of these things, there are options. And so we sat down. I said, open up a separate account. You can label it funeral. You put the money in that you want in there. Tell me what you want. We've done it. It's planned. It's over. And there is the other thing that I did also that I think is important for people, and I know we're talking about insurance, but this kind of comes along with all of this and why it's so important is, I went through the entire house and took pictures of everything that is hers. And I printed them out and I gave her the stack of pictures and I said, in your own handwriting, put who you want to leave that to. But really take the time to think about it. It's in your writing. Put it back in the envelope, seal it up. That's it. That's it. Whoever you want to do that for, you do it. But I wanted to give her that space because, I'm in a place where I have the advantage of being with her every day and reaping the benefits of her. And what's left are things. And like you said, sometimes people come out of the woodwork and all of a sudden, when somebody dies, they want a piece of this or they want this and this is just ways to make it easier for that caregiver, not just the insurance, but also, the funeral. It's all about planning. And that's why I really liked our conversation that we had initially, because it's about planning and it's about choice. So
there also is something else too. I think.
tell me.
It's it's transition. Mm-hmm. We transition in various stages in our lives, and I think that the plot that I think I've missed sometimes, but I think I'm getting more as I get older. That we make transitions, and a lot of times people don't. We always talk about you're something young, and we talk about youth, and we talk about all these things about how we can look and feel better. And I'm not saying this is to be a curmudgeon, but you're going to get old. You're going to transition. Things are going to happen to you. You're not going to you're not going to have as much hair. You're not going to be you're going to have lower back issues. You're going to have mobility issues. You're going to have a lot of things. So you're going to make a transition. And what people are not doing is to say, if I transition to this, what's the plan?
Right.
I mean, death is in a way, it's a form of a plan, and it's certainly a transition. And when your mother was saying, and I was thinking about it, people plan better for their funerals and their memorial services and where they're going to be buried. Actually, my wife and I were talking about that. There's some sort of, where we'll sort of be turned into mulch or something, and I like that idea because we've been doing our, and I like that idea.
I
But
saw
anyway,
that one. Yeah.
before I get off topic, is that before it's fine to have a end of life plan called a death plan. Your funeral. And they do that for presidents. They have and they modify that so then when a president dies, they have a plan. I advocate that, and it should be part of your estate plan. Now, what isn't done is what's the plan when you have the transition from if you don't die right away, then you're going to have you're not
Right.
and it could be weeks, it could be months, it could be years. My mother was needed caregiving for 18 years. She died a couple of years ago at 103.
Oh, wow.
And most of the situation was high functioning, but she, as time went on, she needed caregiving 24 hours a day. And if you talk about West Los Angeles, 7 days a week, 30 days times 12, do the arithmetic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and uh, this, so what we're not doing is we're really not coming, we miss the plot. I've been thinking about it. We miss the plot. And I'll give you an example. It's like when somebody comes to you, they have a mental health issue. It doesn't mean that they're ill. They have things they want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Things that, things are, and it's also something I think in the whole healthcare system is that, we do things in part. I think your head is attached to your body. At least that's what I took in physiology class, and your teeth are attached to your head. Why don't we? If we talk about comprehensive health, then I think it should cover everything. Your
Mm-hmm.
dental, your mental. It's
Sure.
comprehensive because if you don't go to the dentist and you have teeth, you're going to have health issues.
Right.
Every dentist, and there are things actually they can even determine through your gums and stuff, whether you may have cognitive issues or diabetes or some preventable things if you go to a dentist more often. Well, why don't people go to the dentist more often? Money. It's high. Do I want to pay? Do I have 150 or $200? I'm getting off topic here, but
No,
let me
but
just
it's
get back
true.
to the reality is that we've missed the plot of saying if we have these issues, if we're having issues caregiving for our parents or our children, then why have we missed the plot of not saying if this happens to us, what are we going to do about what's the realization of if this happens, what's our plan? What are we going to do? Now, do we want it just in time or to have a plan in advance, just like your mother? It seemed, yeah, and it's understandable. People will think more about death than the transition. So
Mm-hmm.
she was asking a good question, but of what am I going to do if I'm going to die? But what's the plan while she lives that she can have a good life? And you can have people always think about, caregiving is you can't do anything. I'm going to go out later, later, and I will be around people that have all kinds of mobility issues, but they're out there doing things. You could, even if you need caregiving, whatever form of caregiving, so long, I mean, unless you're comatose,
Mm-hmm.
unless you have severe cognitive issues that you can't go anywhere, you can go out in public. You can do
Mm-hmm.
things. You can have social activities. You can be involved in family. What's the difference? Where's the breakdown? Where do people lose the plot? The reason some people don't want to have people over, they don't go out, is because they have trouble bathing.
Mm-hmm.
They have they haven't been to the dentist, so they're worried about their teeth. They're or they're depressed.
Right.
They're feeling alone. They're feeling vulnerable. I think I've told you, but there are three things that I think, and you probably have may have more that I think most people value. One is people don't want to feel invisible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. The second is that we all like attention. I do. And the other is, and this is the big whammy is any time that you've had a health issue or something scares you, you feel vulnerable. I do. When I was in
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam, I felt vulnerable every damn day.
Oh, I'm sure.
Uh, and I felt very vulnerable. So I had a plan of what I was going to do in order to survive this. Number one, I was never going to be inebriated,
Mm-hmm.
meaning drinking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to use drugs or any. I was going to keep conscious so that if anything unexpected happened, and it did, that I had a better rate of survival. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
I mean obviously it worked. I survived it. Whether if I'd done all the other things, I would have survived it. I don't know, but I'm not going to go back and try.
Let me ask you this. What, with everything that you're saying, and we're talking about options and choices and all of that, what would be the difference between long term healthcare insurance and say you decide, I don't have the funds for that? Would Medicare, Medi-Cal cover those things? What are the differences between the alternatives?
that's a 3 hour thing that you don't want. So let me just summarize. The reason for these social services plan was specifically for that. People that don't have any disposable income, people don't have maybe all they have is their social security or some sort of pension.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was designed to do, and it could work well. But the difference is you have to then prove by your disability or whatever your caregiving issue and your asset. You may be eligible, but you're not entitled. Same with veterans benefits. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
veteran, but and there's certain things I'm eligible, but I'm not entitled. I have to qualify. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you have no assets, no money, no, yeah, that's the purpose. But if you have assets, or I mean disposable income, then talk about having a plan, or with your wealth advisor. Do you have enough assets
Mm-hmm.
and income? It isn't just assets. Supposing, look, I'll give you an extreme. Supposing you have $50 million in assets,
Mm-hmm.
but it's in real estate. Well, it's a real estate. How much is the real estate? Producing an income, or you have sort of non-liquid kind of asset. You might be rich in assets, but not necessarily in cash flow. And
Mm-hmm.
caregiving is a cash flow business.
Yes.
You know, and whether it's family that's helping you or you're hiring caregiver, it's a cash business. And so
Okay.
the these are the issues that people need to talk to the wealth advisor. I mean, here's the standard thing: is some wealth advisors say, well, you have 2 million in assets, you don't need a long-term care plan. But they miss the point. The point isn't what you have; is what is it producing, and is it producing enough, not just for your care, but for your lifestyle
Right.
and other things. Do you want to leave a legacy to your family or to organizations that matter to you? I think I told you before, but my mother, who's very affluent, and we're not. Two million to her was cash in the bank,
Mm-hmm.
or it was liquid asset. That was the small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody says, you have this, is what is it what is it producing, and is it enough to produce not only to take care of your lifestyle, but we're getting it. My mother, who was very affluent and an estate planning attorney, and somebody that was not into buying insurance until she bought long-term care plan in her early 70s. And I asked her, said, look, you have all this money, and you have all this income. Why did you buy a long-term care plan? And here's somebody, again, not an insurance buyer,
Mm-hmm.
unless she had to, affluent. And she said, and an estate planning attorney, because she was
Mm-hmm.
planning other people's estate. She said, nobody has that much money to pay for your lifestyle and your caregiving. So
Right.
that's my mother Ruth. That's from not the book of Ruth, but my mother Ruth.
I like that because it is true that when you're thinking about where you're at in your life right now and when you experience the aging process, I look at other countries that have communities built and it's just free. It's a part of what they do for the aging community. They value that aging process. They look at the aging community as wise and people to be respected. But a lot of different countries, including our own, I think we're very limited with that. It becomes, it's just kind of, and this is your next phase of life. Okay, you're going to go into a home and then you're going to da 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 da. Where, I look at this one country who, the aging population moves into it. There's grocery stores because everything is about quality of life. They have restaurants. They have all this. You don't pay anything. It's just living every day. And this is what they plan for their aging. But that's not what we have here in the United States. And it does differ per state as well. So I do think it's really important. I will say this. I want to ask you, along with planning and what I gather from what you're saying too, and also my experience, there's different kinds of long-term health care insurance. You've got some that will cover a certain amount. You've got some that will cover everything. And then there's leftover that could be left to somebody. Do you recommend having When you're doing your planning, is it important for you to pick somebody who is going to be there to help you and advocate for you through that long-term process? Once you get into long-term health care, who should be that person that's helping you through that process?
This is all all if you want to sign, all I do is help is design plans and advise people, based on a health assessment, their financial suitability and what they want to accomplish. My job is to say what plan, just like if you go to an attorney or you go to your accountant or you go you buy something, is what do I want this thing to do? That's what I have trained myself and continue to educate, is to evaluate, so that if somebody says, look, this is all I want, I might advise to say, well, based on your circumstances, you might want to get something robust, but if
Mm-hmm.
but whatever decision you make is your decision. Sometimes, my mother used to say, no is a decision. Just
Correct.
because you say, that doesn't mean you put it off. You said no. You made a decision. I think even maybe is a decision, but or it may be an indecision. So whether you're indecision or you made a decision, so somewhere along the line to say I'm not going to do this, is some form of decision. I mean, my point is this: that there are plans. If you talk to me or people that are
Mm-hmm.
knowledgeable, there are a variety of plans that can do many that will do many things for people based on what they want to accomplish. I mean, I can get you a plan that you can have no health so long as you don't need care. $95 a month, you can get home care, and it's a tiered system. You can get it by hours, or you can get a plan that less and less. They used to have be plans where it was either only home care or only a nursing home, and that's how a lot of people think of a lot of these plans. They're just nursing home insurance. So if you need caregiving, you go to a care, nursing home or assisted living. Most of them are comprehensive. True freedom isn't, but most plans are comprehensive, and there are plans you can get that even if you're in very bad health, but if you have assets not needed for your retirement, you have life insurance,
Mm-hmm.
you own a non-qualified annuity, you have other money market, CD,
Mm-hmm.
some sort of liquid assets not needed for retirement. It's just sitting around. You can transfer it over into a long-term annuity plan, and it will leverage it. In other words, for every dollar you put in, you get $2 or $3, back in your caregiving. And
Mm-hmm.
there's always the thing. Well, supposing now it becomes, you think it's as transferring stuff and say, well, if I do that, I'll lose out when I die. The money will go to the annuity heaven. No, it won't. If you don't use it all, the balance will go to your beneficiary. So the insurance company isn't taking your money. And I know, we could have conversations about, how people feel about insurance companies. I could give you my
Right.
opinion about insurance companies, but there maybe 25 years ago, the long-term care plans were sort of more traditional, and there were 100 companies in it. Now there are fewer companies, but it's more diversified. And health assessment and medical underwriting. It's become more efficient.
I like that.
So you do have choices. There isn't just one plan. It's what plan would fit your situation. And so I can't, until I sort of have an evaluation, just like somebody comes to you and says, look, I've got these, you got to evaluate it. You got to find out,
Right.
we can have I sort of need to figure things out. So if somebody says, I want a long-term care plan, I don't know what you need. I don't know what you want until we have we talk about it, and I'll say, "Well, what do you want it to do? Have you had a personal experience? Has somebody advised you? What? Really, to put it just the same as if I'm talking to you. Why are we having this conversation? And I want somebody to tell me their story. What is it that you want? And if you're in the situation, what do you want? What do you want the situation to do?
Right.
How will you feel whether you're at home or you're in a care center, that you feel that you have attention, that people will help you, so you can go out and live your life. Because just because you're not, there are a lot of unhealthy people walking around. I'll probably see them in an hour and a half. I may
Hmm.
not know that they're not in good health, but
Right.
and so if somebody feels, it's the same as, I open doors for people, or or sometimes people will do things, and I've learned this in negotiating skills where, you might say, oh, this person is being rude to me. Well, they may be, hey, maybe they got, they're upset because they got something happened at the
Right.
bank. Or the doctor's office called and said, "Hey, the test results, aren't good." You never know, sort of what somebody is, in public, what somebody's going through. So I'm learning, to be,
Be kind.
because, yeah, be kind,
Be kind.
and be aware and be curious, because you just don't know. I mean, some people, are just annoying people and they're curmudgeons, but
Right.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt until they've proven something else. There's also something else in this too when we talk about, caregiving, is if you have a family, whether you like them or you don't, or whether you get along, or whatever the issues, that talk to your family, not just about when you die, but what are you going, what do you what's your life, while you're alive? Because
Hmm.
you want, how somebody says they passed on, they're no longer with us, they're with, somebody, is, I think people stay alive if you remember them, and
Hmm.
if you have good memories. But in family life, talk to your family about, if you need a care, what do you want to, how do you want them involved, show them things, make sure that, trusted people have, your medical records. And I'm not just talking about, the health insurance card. I'm talking about, what are your prescriptions, who are your doctors,
Hmm.
where's your, what medications are you taking, have those, have it written out. I
I agree
advocate,
with you.
yeah, you can have the stuff on your phone and your computer. Write it out. I have an electric car, and I have a lot of the things that I could look at my phone. I actually printed it out because when I have some issue, I want to look at it and say, who do I call,
Right.
to do this. And here's the other thing that I think, because this happened in our family years ago when my father died, is that if a family is having a dysfunction or in drama, in other words, for saying they're not getting along, they're arguing,
Yes.
bring in help, bring in a psychologist, bring in a gerontologist, bring in a faith, somebody that has those skills, that can help you sort things out. And if the family doesn't know how to talk to each other, that mental health person, should have the skills to sort of help to get people talking, about, who's going to be responsible for this. And you might split it up if there are enough people. Who's going to do the administrative? Who's good at
Right.
talking to the doctors? Who can drive? Who can cook? Who can fix things, or who can hire people to fix things? Because you're running a life. You're running somebody else's life. And the other thing is, when you're an adult, unlike a child, you have more rights and responsibility, unless you have a guardian, conservativeship.
Hmm.
Did I say that properly?
Yes. Conservator. Hmm.
That um, you have rights and responsibilities, and that also adds to, the issues, because when somebody says, uh, um, everything is okay. Come on, you're you supposing you're an adult. You're not okay, and it may be because you have a cognitive issue, or you're afraid, and which is what I believe. You're afraid. You're feeling vulnerable, so you
Yes.
push people away. And it's like, we say, everybody, how are you? I'm okay, or I'm
Correct.
fine.
Yeah.
I'll say, what do you love about, or what do you love about today? Or, it seems like you have a lot of things to do, and I'd rather they have a story rather than to say a cliche that I already know what the answer is. So why ask the question if I already know the answer?
That's true. I think that sometimes people get very, very caught up in what they should be doing or obligation. And I liked all those different points that you made. And what I want to say to everybody out there, what I think is really important is that you have options and choices with your long-term health care insurance. You have options, you have choices. I like the fact that Raymond had said it could be $95 a month and that covers a certain amount. When if you want it to be more, that covers a different amount. The whole thing is that you have options and choices, and all of this starts with a conversation. A conversation. Another great thing that he said was an answer is no. If you go in, you have a discussion, and you realize it's not something that you want in your life, okay, but you had the conversation, you had the discussion. I think the other part of his valuable information that I was just listening to is power of attorney. Power of attorney for your finances, for definitely your health care is important. And you want to choose someone who's going to be present in your life, someone who's going to advocate for you, not out of obligation, because it becomes a daily occurrence. Driving places, doctor's appointments, there's so many different things. And if you're in a family with multiple siblings taking care of a parent, that's fabulous if you can break it down and sit down and have a conversation and plan. If you're not able to have a conversation and plan, seek some help. If that doesn't work, select someone who's going to be there for you, ultimately deciding what it is that you want in life. Choices. So, Raymond Lavine, his information is going to be on chatwithdrkat.com. Please seek him out, find out more information about long-term healthcare options and what you have to do. And as you can see, he's wonderful to talk to and a wealth of information. Thank you so much, Raymond, for being on this episode today. And
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
yes, it's been wonderful, and have a great rest of the day.
I've really enjoyed this.
I'm
Some
glad.
things I do, but this has been really enjoyable, and I thank you for having me as a guest. I'm honored. I really am honored.
Well, thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.